Let's review some slightly more full coverage, higher end foundations, which I really love. It was the Huda Beauty Blur. It was a Huda Beauty Blur, say that 10 times fast, that started this whole conversation because there is a want to wear high coverage. You come to the right place. I'm gonna do a try on and review of all 4 of these, and we are going to chat about more affordable picks as well. But these are absolutely worth it, and I'm gonna show you the difference between all of them.
The Beautyblender Bounce Foundation is the best place to start because it is my favorite of the picks. It's really kind to sensitive acne-prone skin, or you have active blemishes, and I know that's always a worry for people. You want to cover up acne, but you're worried it's going to make it worse. This product hasn't done that for me. It's really high coverage, and it has a really natural satin matte finish that isn't overly powdery. I've been through about 3 bottles of this particular foundation, and it's been with me through some of the most intense parts of my acne journey. It's worth noting that this pick is a bit on the thicker side, and I know that's not for everyone. So this is where our next pick, which is the Beauty Screen by Naked Sundays, comes in. It is a very thin liquid tint, but don't be fooled because this product can absolutely be built up to high coverage. It's infused with skincare, it has the SPF 50 and also has peptides. If you really like a weightless feel on the skin, then this is the one for you. If you don't mind a bit of heaviness, the Urban Decay Face Bond is a stunning, true full coverage. Like, you are not going to want to reach for this if you like shearing out your foundation. This is very matte and it almost has a powdery finish. You can see how the skin almost absorbs light rather than bounces it off, and there is no powder on here. Last but not least is the Easy Blur by Huda Beauty. This is kind of similar to the Naked Sundays Beauty Screen in terms of how flexible the coverage can be. If you have a hydrated base on, you can shear this out to be a tint, but it's buildable and it looks absolutely stunning and blurring on the skin. What's special about this one is it's not matte, and a lot of full coverage picks usually are. It really does look like skin even closer.
Let's chat some of the ways that you can make full coverage foundation really work for your skin. I am going to attempt to use some new-ish makeup products that I have in my collection. This is a new color corrector from the Kind Collective. It's a little bit more silky rather than creamy, and it's less pigmented than the ones I've tried. So I'm excited to keep testing and trialing. I don't mind the idea of something silky and less creamy under the eyes. Prepping your skin is kind of everything when it comes to makeup in general, but especially when you apply foundation. That's more full coverage. We touched on it briefly, but you do need moisture in your skin. You can go all out and start building up layers and layers of toners and hydrating serums, but you definitely don't need to. This is Home Beauty's concealer. I'm using shade FN1 Julia. For really full coverage makeup days, I tend to opt for products that are made with makeup prep in mind. Release is a really good example of a product that is made with makeup prep in mind. Their classic is great. I tend to use a sensitive one just because my skin just gets along with it a little bit better, and I feel better about using it morning and night, which is usually what I do regardless if I wear makeup or not. So yes, always prep the skin. This is Half Magic's blush in Cheek Fluff Don't Be a Doll. I like this. I really like the packaging. Tip 2. I do think your application method really makes or breaks a foundation and makeup in general. I think it's important that your brushes are clean because it's not just the foundation in your brush that's drying out and becoming crusty that you're dealing with. Brushes also pick up the dead skin from your face, which is really gross to think about. The dead skin really does exacerbate texture. And then when it comes to the actual swiping onto the foundation, yes, you can do broad brush strokes, but it also means you're slightly exfoliating your skin. So if you are someone that has a lot of texture, a lot of flaky dry skin on your face, when you're not tapping and you're wiping or swiping, you can actually really highlight that. If you can do a really gentle exfoliation before you apply, that's not a bad idea either. Build up the blush a bit more. Going to use some Huda. This is the Cherry Blossom shade, so it has a pink tint to it, as you can probably see. Camera might be a bit bright. It smells very nice. Powder sometimes makes or breaks your full coverage foundation and how it looks on the skin. By the way, I always pat out creases. Creases tend to be a bit worse when you're using full coverage products, but do your best to pat them out and then set the eye area or the smile lines while the product is patted out. Same with this side. I've used this for yonks. This is Patrick Tar. The next tip really depends on your style and your application of makeup. I've personally found when I've gone to the effort of like really building up a full coverage foundation, you don't always want to go in with cream bronzers and cream blushes. And I know that's very controversial because Powder scares a lot of people, but I really think you should be relying on a setting mist to kind of settle down those powders and almost make them cream on your skin. This is because if I were to go in and really start swiping on the cheeks, I'm going to lift up the coverage. This isn't a blanket rule, because if you're very skilled with makeup, you know to dab and you know not to swipe and you know not to lift things up. But I've just personally found there's a lot less room for error when I use powders when I'm doing a full coverage look. If you are using creams, please make sure not to swipe product, because you really don't want to lift up that base that you've worked so hard to build up. And feel welcome to disregard that completely if you're like super skilled. I'm not super skilled with this. I like to contour my nose. I know that's a personal preference thing. Contouring your nose isn't always about changing the shape. Sometimes when you do a full coverage makeup look, you tend to lose some of that dimension that you just naturally have on your face. You've almost whited it out. So adding it back is usually a good way to bring that kind of structure and life back to your skin. This is kind of a new one for me. This is from Merit. I've only used it a handful of times. It's shade Mid-Century and it's like a cream solo shadow. See how that looks? Isn't that interesting? The next full coverage tip is to kind of demystify what's happening. Why did it become so demonized? Formulations have come a really long way, and you might even find brands market products on what was usually associated. So they might market a matte foundation as non-cakey or non-drying, or they might market a dewy foundation as non-oily or non-greasy. And back in the day when there weren't many formulations, or just the technology in the beauty space was much more limited, there were definitely a bunch of matte full coverage foundations that were quite cakey. What do you think of that eyeshadow? This is a single shadow from Mecca Max in shade Double Jinx. Just gonna put that over the eyelid. Trying to do a look that I wouldn't usually do. I'm gonna put more tips in the caption. Maybe I'll write an article about it, but I think it's important to know you don't need to invest in a really expensive setting spray or setting mist. You can use things that are really simple, like an Event Thermal Spring Water, or what you use just to hydrate your skin. Oh my gosh, I've totally covered because the cheek wasn't set. I'm gonna have to put some highlighter to, I don't know if that's showing up on camera. Put some highlighter on to blend that in, but that's fine. I'm just quickly finishing up with the Huda Beauty Lip Contour in Warm Brown and the Makeup by Mario Petal Glow. I'm also going to use a Lisa Eldridge mascara. It's a kitten mascara and it's shade Burnt Lumber or Umber? Umber. If you have hooded eyes, it's almost a non-negotiable. You really need to put the mirror way lower and then look down. It's the only way I don't absolutely butcher my lashes.
Sorry to end the video like this, but I forgot to film an outro. I'm obviously still getting my head around the structure of a YouTube video. Please feel welcome to subscribe. Please feel welcome to stick around. I really do love reviewing makeup and I'm excited to get more into it. If you have any suggestions from what to kind of go into next, let me know. But I definitely have a full coverage but affordable foundation pick video coming up soon.